Thank you, Pat. And just want to say, and of course, he decided to start playing with his toy. So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you. I want to kind of just start off with maybe some little uplifting and some hints to stay not stressed out because it's election year. It's finally here. And it's going to be the two that were there last time. I'll just put it that way. So I recently listened to a podcast, The Politics Girl, with Simon Rosenberg, who does something called the Hopium Chronicles. And his kind of theme is do more, worry less. And I love that because I think that's perfect for us to try to remember. And I think I'm going to print it out and put it on my computer, my refrigerator, in my car, just to remind us, right? And so that's one of the things you can do. It was a fabulous, very uplifting. He's very pro-Democrat party and has a very positive feeling about how we're going to do this year. So I recommend that one. And I'm going to eventually put these all on the website. So if you don't catch it, we'll get it eventually. Then also other things you can do to keep your chin up. So listen to that one. The Down Ballot by Daily Caucus is also very good. It's more local races and gives you a sense of the entire like countries as far as state and below. It doesn't touch the president at all, except when it like is good. But anyway, and then this most recent iGen Politics, which is with Victor Shi and Jill Wine-Banks. And if you guys remember, last January, we had Victor Shi on our program. He's the young man from UCLA. He's still going strong. And this particular week's episode had 3 Gen Z activists who are amazing. So another pick me up if you're worried about the young guys. So they're great. Make sure you make self-care a priority. Get your sleep. Take breaks from news. Go on what did I write? The abstain from news for a little while. It does wonders. If anything major happens, you're going to find out about it, whether you're watching the television or listening to whatever. So don't worry about that. Keep coming to our meetings, of course. And then just a little update of how much the Dems have been rocking it. Last month, we flipped a Florida state house seat from Republican to Democrat. That was not expected. We flipped the Virginia State House and kept the Senate, so we can keep Glenn Youngkin in line. The Pennsylvania State House was won there last week, and that meant we kept the majority there. And of course, we replaced Santos with Suozzi. So that was a congressional flip, which is awesome. And then finally, Wisconsin is going to have new maps that are way less gerrymandered. So we have opportunity to pick up more seats in Wisconsin, and of course a seat in Alabama and oh gosh, is it Georgia? Anyway, where they had to redo their maps also and build in a Black majority, or at least Black seat available for them, that they could actually win somebody they want to represent them. So it's really at this point better to be us than them. And then if we put in the work, we will win. And don't use their talking points, the GOP's talking points. So yes, Biden's old. So is Trump. But let's just go with it. He's going to be the guy. So let's quit worrying about who else it could be, because it's him. And by the way, your ballots are in your mail if you don't already have them. So keep that in mind. And I heard a fun analogy today, which was you got 2 old firemen that come to your house to save your house. One's got the fire hose and the other one's got a gas can. Which one do you want? So I thought that was a good, very clear analogy and apt for Colorado. So very happy to say welcome to all the guests that we have here tonight. If you like what you see, please consider joining us as a member. And also want to say welcome to all the elected officials. I can't see you all, so I'm going to leave it at that. And then obviously we have lots of candidates tonight as well. I'm going to ask for patience in the beginning as we're going through this, because it is Zoom and still something always can happen. So other things, the training for gathering petitions is on our website. Just let us know if you do it. Then we can inform Cobalt that you're doing it. And then you will receive a link to do a memorandum of understanding that's basically affirming that you did take the training. And at that point, then you can gather signatures. If you want a petition packet because you're already trained, I have 3 to pass out. And you can also go get them at the New Era office, which is on Spruce Street, 1648 Spruce Street. And that's on Thursdays. You can pick those up from 10 to 2. Like I already said, the ballots are out. Get those in early to save the clerk and recorder's time, so it's not all at once at the end. It's one question, so it's pretty easy. And then, please keep renewing your memberships and stay up with us, and all is good. So can someone let me know if Joe is here?
Yes, he's on the call. Give him just one
Hello.
second.
Okay. Hey, Joe. All right. So I get to say it's my honor to introduce our extraordinary, intrepid, and wonderfully brilliant Congressman Joe Neguse.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa, and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see so many friends and just grateful for the opportunity to come by and say a few words virtually. I know you have a wonderful group of candidates up and down the ballot that you're going to be hearing from. So I'll be very brief, and I'll apologize in advance if you hear some noises here in the background. I'm here at home, gratefully back in Colorado for a few days, and I know I'm going to be seeing some of you this week. But my daughter, who's now in kindergarten, Natalie, as many of you know, is also here, as well as our son Joshua, who's 10 months old, who has not yet had the great privilege of meeting many of you, but looking forward to that soon. I have to say, I think Lisa, our wonderful speaker, started off this evening in the best possible way, and in terms of being optimistic about the future. I find myself in this constant state of tension between rosy optimism and hopefulness whenever I'm back in Colorado, and then, of course, deep pessimism when I am in our nation's capital. And the latter of which, I suppose, is not necessarily unexpected, given just what's unfolded over the course of the last 13, 14 months since Republicans got a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. I've had the privilege, the honor of representing our community, representing all of you in the United States Congress now for 5 years. It's hard to believe. And I will just say, notwithstanding the impeachments, one of which, as you all know, I served as a manager in, the pandemic, the insurrection, attack on our nation's capital, the hardest year legislatively for me personally and for our team that serves the 2nd Congressional District has been this last year, the last 12 months, because the extremism and the chaos and the dysfunction that had begun really a decade and a half ago at the sort of infancy of the Tea Party movement has metastasized into the entire Republican caucus in the House of Representatives. And of course, you don't have to take my word for it. Those of you who've been watching, I know this is a very well-informed and astute group. So you all know this, watching C-SPAN and seeing these developments unfold. 3 government showdowns in the span of just 6 months. The first vacating of a U.S. Speaker of the House, literally in over 150 years since the Civil War. Potential default on our national debt that we only were able to avert because of the leadership of Leader Jeffries in the House, our partners in the Senate, and of course, President Biden. And now you have a group of really, I think, just craven, extreme folks within the Republican caucus, unfortunately, on their side of the aisle, who are holding hostage critical aid to our ally, Ukraine, as they fight our ally there for survival. So for me, as you can imagine, particularly because our office has always worked really hard to be proactive and do everything we can to legislate and get things across the finish line, it has been deeply dispiriting. And I have to be candid with you that it is as bad as it looks when you're watching TV in terms of what Speaker Johnson and the MAGA Republicans are doing in Washington. I will say part of what makes it more difficult for me is that it is juxtaposed against the incredible record of achievement that we were able to get done with your help. And of course, again, because of the leadership of President Biden, the CHIPS and Science Act, the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the largest investment in climate action in the history of our country, the first gun violence reform legislation signed in 30 years since I was in middle school. I mean, you think about just the legislative record that President Biden and congressional Democrats amassed over the course of a very short period of time. And it's something for all of us to be proud of. And I think the work for us today is to spend the next 10 months telling the American people what we've done, how we've improved their lives for the better, and what we will do if given the opportunity to govern in the 119th Congress with a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and President Biden and Vice President Harris back at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I am optimistic about that future, but it's not going to happen on its own. It's going to take disciplined and engaged work on the part of every single one of us and everyone in our community making the case, because I think the Republicans are, in my view, far more organized this year than they were 4 years ago. I'm often reminded, you've heard me, I know many of you say this before, but Speaker Pelosi, I'm lucky enough to serve at the leadership table in the House, and she would always in our meetings remind us of the quote, the story of adage of Benjamin Franklin leaving the Constitutional Convention in 1787 and being asked, what kind of government, have the delegates conceived of, right? A monarchy or a republic? And his answer was a republic if you can keep it. And I think the question for all of us and for all Americans over the course of these next 9 months is whether we will keep this republic that has endured for so long and that has provided freedom and opportunities to so many, myself and my family included. And if you look at the empirical polls and the data, it suggests that it is going to be a close struggle that's going to require each and every one of us to be off of the sidelines, which I know you all are already, of course, doing. Now, I will just say one thing, because Lisa referenced this with respect to the president. I have been incredibly fortunate to have interacted with the president a number of times, again, in my capacity as a member of House leadership, in the Oval Office, at the Capitol, and just recently, 10 days ago, when he came and spoke with House Democrats, and I had a chance to visit with him personally with members of House leadership. And I will tell you, I found him to be as dynamic and charming and focused as I have throughout the duration of his presidency. His actions, his record of accomplishment, in my view, speaks for itself. And the key question for all of us now is, will we allow someone whom, as we all know, incited a mob to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power 4 years ago, potentially regain power once again? The answer to that question has to be a resounding no. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but nonetheless, I want to say I'm grateful to every one of you for continuing to do the work that you're doing and for staying so engaged. And we've just got to continue to do that over the course of the next few weeks. And the best way to do that is by participating in caucus and assembly, which I know all of you, of course, will be there. And I personally can't wait to see all of you there in person and to be able to thank you for giving me the privilege of representing you and to ask for your support to continue representing this wonderful community that we're all so lucky to call home. So thank you all so much. Enjoy the evening, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Joe. Glad you got an unexpected 2-week vacation. Sort of. Glad for you, not for the rest of us. But anyway. Wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Pat Fieser and Celeste Landry are going to talk to us to explain the caucus process and how you can participate. And then Celeste will discuss the assembly process. And I believe we have one document to share. So Pat, if you'd like to begin, that'd be great. You guys have about 5 minutes.
Okay. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but this group is probably the most dynamic group of Democrats I'm probably ever going to talk to. But I looked up in the dictionary and I looked up to see what caucus meant. It says a meeting of people who get along and make things happen are the people who go to caucus. And I thought that was very interesting because that's what we do. Boulder County will hold its 2024 caucus on March 9th, Saturday, from 12:30 to 12 noon, to 4:30, mostly in the Boulder Valley schools and in St. Vrain Valley. We have announced that the location is online for the BocoDems.org. You can go online, go to bocodems.org or go to our main page, and you will find that you can find out where your caucus is going to be, who your precinct leaders are, who your supersite chairs are, and who your ACs are, your area coordinators. As Good, that's a great thing. You can see all that. You can see where this all leads now. So we have all the locations. They're ready to go. The signs, as Lisa said, are already starting to go up to tell you that that's where you're going to be caucusing. As at caucus, we will have a variety of things happening. But the main business of caucus is to elect precinct officers, a precinct organizer or two, so to get a list, to recruit a list of volunteers, of people who are willing to help with the election in 2024 and are willing to go on to the assembly or to the county office, county assembly, and which Celeste will talk about. The purpose of caucus is to really get neighbors together in the precinct to discuss the issues of importance, to elect precinct organizers, to recruit volunteers, and to get some of the biggest issues of the day out to their family and their friends. And this is the first time that we've done caucus in person for a very long, about 3 years. And we need to get out and see each other again, recognize each other, and start helping each other out, because we've done this virtually and it hasn't really worked as well as we thought it did. We didn't get enough precinct organizers. Volunteers are down. It was really a shame that we lost a lot of people who, because they couldn't come to meetings, decided not to continue. So during the time before assembly and the state primaries, the Dems are going to be helping helping with all the things that have to go on in the clerk's office as well. Have I done my 2 minutes? I can't hear you.
I think you're good. Did you cover everything?
I think I did. Did I
Perfect. That
cover
was
everything,
great.
Celeste?
Thank you, Pat.
Did I cover everything, Celeste?
Sure, I'll cover whatever you didn't, and if people have questions and there's time, we'll answer them.
Okay.
So I'm the Perm Org Committee Chair, and we come up with the rules for County Assembly and Convention and the agenda for County Assembly and Convention. At caucus, you'll be electing delegates, and each delegate will serve as a delegate to both County Assembly and County Convention. We don't do that every time, but this year we're doing it. And once you get to County Assembly, if you want to, you can go just to State Assembly or just to CD2 Assembly. When you're at County Convention, which is going to be at the same exact time, you can go just to CD2 Convention or just to the State Convention. In presidential years, we have this more complicated flow chart because we have the convention. The convention only happens in presidential years because it's about the president and national stuff. So the conventions will pick delegates to go to the national presidential convention. They will pick presidential electors to be part of the electoral college. And they will pick at the state convention Democratic National Committee members to be part of the Democratic National Party. So that's the convention side. And we will not take any preference polls at the convention side because the presidential poll is the presidential primary on March 5th, Super Tuesday. However, at caucus, you will take a poll, and it will be our highest level poll, which this year is CU Regent at Large. That's the only statewide race. And there are 2 candidates going through the assembly process. And so at caucus, you can be a candidate for Elliott Hood, for Charles Johnson, or CJ, he goes by, or uncommitted. Uncommitted is always an option until the final assembly where the candidate is put on the ballot or not put on the ballot. At the county assembly, we have 3 county offices that will be under consideration. I'm guessing you're going to hear from most of these people today. 2 county commissioner districts are up, District 1 and 2, Marta Lochamin and Polly Christensen. And I'm saying the candidates in the order in which they declared their candidacy. Are both candidates for District 1. Polly Christensen has not announced if she's going through the assembly. So far, we have only Marta Lochamin going through the assembly. A new county office is county coroner because Emma Hall resigned, and that vacancy was filled by the county commissioners. And right now, I only know of 1 candidate going through that. And I think I saw that candidate on the line today, so I think you'll hear from that person. JD 20 is also the same boundaries as Boulder County. That's our district attorney, Judicial District 20 district attorney. And that person is also currently unopposed for the Democratic Party nomination. There are 2 designations, and that's in green, the top left here, where it says HD 10, HD 11, HD 12, and SD 18. Those are offices which we will put on the primary ballot on March 23rd. And HD 10 and SD 18 each have 2 candidates going through the assembly process. So if you're in either of those, you might be getting a lot of contacts from those candidates. And I'm guessing they're going to be speaking here today. If you are in any of the HD 19, HD 49, or SD 17, your assembly will be on April 10th. HD 49 does have 2 candidates who have registered with the Secretary of State. So you might be hearing from them if you're in HD 49. So there are caucus, county assembly, maybe another House district or Senate district assembly. Then there's CD2, and then there's state. So there are at least 4 meetings you can go to, maybe 5. And this is getting people on the primary ballot, which is a key part of the whole process. And we could take questions. I haven't been seeing the chat, but I know things.
No, I don't think there's really time for questions because we have to get through all of the primary candidates. But if you guys want to answer the questions in the chat, that would be wonderful. And then we will have this recorded, so that includes the text in the chat, and that we would be able to share if somebody doesn't get their answer that they wanted to hear tonight. But thank you, Celeste. That cleared up a lot of. That chart is a little busy. And I know you guys, you and Celeste and all of the officers at Boca Dems have just been working so tirelessly, and that is very much appreciated. And thank you for all of that. We, again, are grateful for all the work that you're doing to get this caucus and assemblies and conventions and everything going and moving along. And I know I can speak on behalf of the candidates that are also happy for all your work. So thank you. So everybody make sure you get to caucus on the 9th. So what I'm going to start off now is just mention all of those who are running as candidates. We are so grateful for you that do not currently have a primary. So at the state level, it's Kathy Gebhardt for State Board of Education. And then we go down to county. Jeff Martin for County Coroner. Claire Levy for County Commissioner in, I think it's District 1. Sonia Jaquez Lewis for Senate District 17. Jennifer Parenti, HD 19. Kyle Brown, HD 12. And Michael Doherty for DA. So thanks to all of you. And then now we will get in to the main event. I want to say thank you to all of you who have stood up to run. This is a big dedication part on your part, and you're helping us with keeping democracy alive, and we are all very grateful for your efforts and your dedication. So I wanted to say also that please be patient. I'm not the best timekeeper in the world, but I'm going to do my best. You each have 4 minutes to give your story and why you're running, et cetera, whatever you're choosing to share with the people on the Zoom tonight. And we went largely in alphabetical order, unless there were candidates who needed a special time frame for needing to move along to another event. So we'll start first with CU Regent, and first speaker will be Elliot Hood.
Well, thanks so much, Lisa. It's a privilege to be here, and thanks so much for giving us all time to introduce ourselves. So my name is Elliot Hood, and I'm running for CU Regent at large. And if you're not familiar with CU Regents, that's the governing board of the University of Colorado, which is by far the largest higher ed institution in the state, third largest employer in Colorado. The regents are the people that approve the budget, set tuition, they manage, hire, and fire the president of the university, and they also establish all law and policy that applies across the university system. So they're kind of like the school board of the CU system. I'm a very proud CU grad. I am a former public school teacher. I ran development for a large education nonprofit for several years, and I'm an attorney that represents public school districts across the state, from super big districts in the metro area to the teeny tiniest little districts on the Eastern Plains with like 50 kids. And I handle a lot of matters for school districts as a litigator, but to give you a couple examples, I have stood up for kids with disabilities and the educators that serve them. I have stood up for anti-racism policies and gender inclusion policies in court. And during the pandemic, I stood up for the right of districts to use masking and other public health protocols to keep our kids and staff safe. And it's been the privilege of my life to serve our public education system, both in the classroom as a teacher and in the courtroom as a lawyer. I also, in addition to my legal practice, am a working parent. I've got 2 little kids, one who's going through potty training right now, so please pray for us, although it's going well so far. I also have had the opportunity to serve on and lead public boards and nonprofit boards. I'm currently a director on the Boulder County I Have a Dream Foundation, and I'm also an appointed member and the vice chair of the Boulder Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and I really enjoy that. When I'm elected to the CU Regency, my big priorities are going to be, number one, we have got to make CU more affordable. Going to college has become a luxury item, and I'm going to press every day to make sure that every qualified scholar across the state can go to CU, can afford to get a good education there, and can graduate with a degree without being burdened with debt for the rest of their working lives. Number two, we have to ban concealed carry and get guns out of our classrooms, which is currently allowed at CU, and it shouldn't be. And the CU Regents have the authority to fix that problem tomorrow. And as a member of the CU Regents, I will be a firm advocate for voting to ban concealed carry and get guns out of our classrooms. 3, we have got to set firm targets at CU for becoming carbon neutral. At CU, we do a lot of talking about how sustainable we are, and we've done some really great things on sustainability, but we have no system-wide commitment to becoming carbon neutral. And that needs to change. And if I'm elected, my big push is going to be, let's become totally net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Let's eliminate direct emissions by 2040. And let's set interim targets to get there so that we can really actually address the climate crisis at CU. I'm thrilled to be endorsed by over 100 elected Democrats across this state, broad swath of coalition of Democrats from the Western Slope to the Eastern Plains, including so many Democrats here in Boulder, including many Dem women of Boulder County. And I'm proud to be a member of this great organization. So I'll leave you with this. This is top of the ticket this year behind president, which means that it's also the swing seat on the board. So it's really important that we keep this seat blue. But that means that you folks are going to have the opportunity to vote for Joe Biden, number 1, and then Elliot Hood, number 2, on your ballot in November. And thanks for having me today.
Great. Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate it, you being timely. That was wonderful. And CJ, I hope that's okay to call you that, because I don't think I've met you yet. But so nice to meet you virtually, at least. So you have the floor, and you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to all of you for the opportunity to come and just share why I'm in this race. My name again, Charles Johnson, CJ. I have an over 35-year relationship with the University of Colorado. I started my time at CU in 1987 as a student, traveling west from Detroit, one of 7 children, the first in my family to have an opportunity at higher education. I did a number of things as an undergraduate on campus, involving myself in student government, where I served as the Black Student Alliance president in 1988. In 1990, I was voted tri-exec over our student body, served in student government for 3 of the 4 years that I was an undergrad on campus, and all the while played a little football, was the quarterback on our national championship team. Fun time, but certainly not the most memorable, to be completely honest with you. In 2005, I came back to CU as an associate athletics director, where I had an opportunity to engage a number of kids from inner city communities across the metropolitan area and bring them up to CU so that they can envision what this opportunity might bear for them. And during my time, some of you may be aware of Buff Bells. It's a support organization at CU that has been my favorite over the years and has been a great support group for myself and many of my former teammates. Now, if you look at my website, you'll see the areas of emphasis for me: tuition. I do think, like my dear friend Elliot, that tuition is way too high. We have to get costs under control because we're costing out too many of our families and children who wish to have access to a great system. Mental health services and awareness. This is something we don't talk enough about. I currently serve on the Leeds Board of Advisors for our business school, and I see statistics indicating to me just how dire the situation is with respect to a number of our children. We must pay closer attention to that. Climate. CU is one of the nation's lead research institutions. We have to do a better job and lead with respect to climate. And diversity, equity, and inclusion. I currently serve in this capacity as the vice president of a Fortune 500 company leading our diversity efforts. We started this campaign in 2015. By 2019, Ball Corporation, headquartered right here in Broomfield, was voted the #1 company for diversity in America, based on the efforts that myself and our team put together to make that a reality. But none of that is the reason why I'm in this race. You know, I'm reminded of a quote by Frederick Douglass in the spirit of Black History Month, where he said, "It is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men and women." I am the product of 2 parents, neither of whom had an opportunity to get a formal education. They migrated north from the segregated South. I am, as I mentioned, the first in my family to have that opportunity. What CU did for me changed the trajectory of not just my life, but my family's life. You see, I have 2 children, both of whom just recently graduated from college. 2 parents, no high school education, a dad who was the first in his family, and 2 children, both of whom graduated from Ivy League schools, Michaela, Yale, Peyton, Columbia. I stand in that gap, and it was because of what CU provided me an opportunity to obtain is what changed my life and my family's life. This is bigger than just data points. This is about the lives that I think this system can save, and have a responsibility in being a better partner to every citizen in the state of Colorado in doing so. Thank you for your time, and look forward to any questions. I think you're on mute, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm trying to protect y'all from the dog. So, but thank you. You also did a wonderful job on your timing, and it was nice to learn about you. I haven't met you before, like I said, and so thank you for your time and joining us tonight. We appreciate you being here, and you as well, Elliot. And those are our CU Regent primary candidates, everybody. So thank you. Now we will move on to HD 49 and Max Woodfin and Leslie Smith. So Max, you are on deck, ready to go whenever you are. And I will, when you're ready, I will start the timer.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you so much to all of you for welcoming me into your space, and welcoming all of us candidates into your space. So to keep this in those 4 minutes, I'm going to briefly tell you the why of my candidacy, and then the what, the issues that are really important to me. So the why goes back to something that we heard from our congressional representative earlier, Joe Neguse, and that is that I'm really concerned about the way our dialogue is going nationally, and the polarization of our civil dialogue, civil being the operative term here. So my story, my very recent story, is that 3 years ago, I deployed to Eastern Europe as a unit commander. And I deployed on a peacekeeping mission to a place that had been ravaged by civil war. And as we often see, civil war is the result of authoritarians who are trying to hold on to power by dividing their population, by creating dialogue that is polarized. And that's what happened where I was in Eastern Europe, is that a dictator had polarized the population along um, basically made up cultural lines and then ethnic lines. A year later, I came back to the United States, and I was really disheartened to see where our dialogue had gone. Right before I deployed, January 6th had come and gone, and it looked as though we were moving toward reconciliation. But coming back, I didn't see that. And so to me, that's really important. And that's really important on the local level. And it's also really important in our own party. As much as it's easy to blame the other side and to blame Republicans, who hold a lot of culpability for this, we ourselves also need to engage in hopeful dialogue. And so that's the big picture why I'm running. The what that I'm running on, the issues that are really important to me. I'm a mental health counselor, and I see people fall through the cracks all the time. And what's really important to me is getting high quality mental health care access for all people, regardless of their socioeconomics and regardless of their geography. Here in House District 49, we have a lot of people who live far away from clinics, far away from access to that care. So it's more than just getting a number of clinicians in the right places. It's also about getting people to that access. Number two, and this is very simple, and we might take care of some of this on the ballot this coming year, but it's still really important to continue legislating on it. And that is, I will do everything in my power to fight against any efforts that's going to take away a women's right to reproductive health care and choice, period. I'm a man, I have no place legislating women's bodies, period. Number three, as a mental health counselor, I give people access to nature, and I bring people out into nature as part of my practice. To me, it's really important to create more public access to public lands for people, regardless of their abilities and regardless of their geography. So getting more people out into nature, ideally in the long run, will help shape policy, because more people will develop a respect for nature and their place in nature. And then that brings me to my the final issue for me that's really important, and that is climate change and how to affect change regards to climate change. So number one, in House District 49, we have a lot of people who are directly affected by climate injustice. In the last 5 years, we've had 5 wildfires that have taken people's homes. We need to build more resilient communities, but we also need to help people get back into homes when they lost it due to climate change. And then the other approach I have to climate change is this. We often hear people talking about technical or technological solutions to climate change, carbon sequestration, all these ideas that are actually really important and we need to consider. But what's just as important to me is us looking at our place in nature and understanding that this is not just a technological problem. Technology created this problem, and we have a duty to culturally adapt and rethink our place in nature. And we have a lot that we can look to that wisdom. So thank you all for your time. Please look at me at maxforcolorado.com. Call me or write me with any questions that you have. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Max, and thank you for joining us. Okay, Leslie, are you ready? You're muted.
Yes.
There you go.
The old mute button.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you. Hello, my DEM women friends. I'm so grateful for all your support over the years. My first stump speech was here in 2005, then 6 years ago, and now I'm here to tell you about my race to be the next representative of HD 49. You've been with me all along, and I thank you for that. As a reminder about me, I'm a former Aquanaut and Boulder Valley School Board member. I'm an environmental scientist with a 30-year career at the University of Colorado, and I'm currently your CU region at large. I was going to run for re-election to the Board of Regents. But friends, the alarm bells are ringing. Our planet is in a climate emergency. Catastrophic fires, devastating floods, and crippling droughts have plagued our state and district. I want to bring my scientific background to the House to tackle these issues. Our planet is crying. The time is to act now. Public education is a top priority for me as well. Our state is in the bottom of the barrel when it comes to funding public education, pre-K through post-secondary. We need to pay our teachers and staff the salaries they deserve. We need to provide equitable services to all our students. We also need to ensure that our graduating high schoolers can pursue the educational pathways they desire to attain well-paying jobs. For too many, college education is just out of reach because of the high cost of tuition and housing. I will fight for better funding for both K-12 and higher education. I've been traveling HD 49 for the past year, talking to elected officials and community members. Affordability is a universal issue that I'm hearing from every community. Affordable housing and affordable health care. On the housing front, I'm keeping an eye on the legislation that will be passed this year to help alleviate the lack of affordable housing. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I know how lucky I was to have good insurance coverage for my treatment. I believe healthcare is a universal basic right. I will work with the legislators like Andrew Basenecker to bring universal healthcare to Colorado. Sadly, last week, our campus experienced something that none of us want to experience on our campuses, 2 shooting deaths. I spent the afternoon on the Colorado Springs campus on Monday to help support the students, faculty, and staff as they process the horrible murders that happened in their midst. This country is awash in guns. We must get this epidemic under control. Our state has made some of the strictest gun laws, but we need to continue tightening up gun restrictions to make our communities safer. These are my passions and where I can lend my expertise, but it's critical that I learn from you. What issues are on top of your mind? I want to hear from you. You can always reach out to me through my website, which I'll type in the chat box. If elected, you can rest assured that as a scientist and a progressive Democrat, I will be data-focused and heart-driven. And when it comes to time to caucus in the assemblies, remember Smith, common name, uncommon leadership. And thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you, Leslie. You were right on the dot. All right, so those were our 2 House District 49. Stop. Okay. Candidates, Leslie Smith and Max Woodfin. And now we will move to House District 10. And Junie, if you are ready, it's Junie Joseph and Tina Muse. So Junie is up first.
Thank you. Tell me when to start.
You go ahead and I got it.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you. Most of you probably have already know me, but for those who don't know me, my name is Junie Joseph, and I'm the representative for Colorado House District 10 in Boulder. I was elected to the House of Representatives in 2022, following 3 years of Boulder City Council, and I've been adamant about being a voice for the people of Boulder, including those who are often not part of the process. Before I go on to talk about my work at the legislature, I will tell you a little bit more about me for those who are not familiar. I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and moved to Florida when I was 14 years old. I graduated from the University of Florida with a BA in political science, then graduated from the University of York with a master's in applied human rights. I earned a degree from CU Boulder Law. I am a practicing law at this time, practicing attorney. It was during law school that I decided to run for Boulder City Council as a first-time candidate. Not only was it a grassroots campaign, I received the highest number of votes of any Democrat running for the city council during that election. During my last 2 years in law school, I had to balance work and my duties as a council member representing the Boulder community. But I did so with one goal in mind: togetherness. Together, we will leave no one behind. My time on the city council was filled with advocacy for the people, advocating for inclusion by pushing for bilingual emergency announcement for all community members. As a member of the city council financial strategy, I push for transparency, accountability, and good governance through the implementation of OpenGov. I was also a member of the audit committee and supported the audit team in looking at the city's budget. I am deeply committed to serving the city of Boulder and the people of House District 10. That's when I was elected for the House of Representatives, I didn't resign my seat on the Boulder City Council. In fact, I did both for 10 months because I didn't want to leave anyone behind. My work in the House has reflected this desire for advocacy and to represent your values. In my first year in the House, I sponsored 20 bills, 19 of which were signed into law. I worked hard to make sure there were eviction protections for residential tenants by sponsoring House Bill 23-1120. I passed House Bill 23-1168 to ensure legal representation for students with disabilities when there is an IEP or accommodation dispute between the student and the school district. And through the governor's office, I sponsored and passed the largest environmental decarbonization legislation in the nation. I have also passed the ghost gun legislation because gun violence prevention is very important to you. As for 2024, I'm already hardworking for you. Currently, I'm working on 11 bills, such as establishing an equal justice fund so that local organizations can provide legal representation and advice to low-income families. That's House Bill 1286. I'm currently sponsoring House Bill 1170, a Bill of Rights for youth who are currently in the custody of the Division of Youth Services. More importantly, the bill will ensure that all children, including BIPOC and LGBTQ+ children, have better outcome after they come through the criminal justice system. I'm also working on 2 bills to ensure access to early childhood education. In conclusion, our world is on fire. Women's rights are at stake. LGBTQ+ rights are constantly being challenged. We have a lot of work to do to ensure all our community members are safe. It is my commitment to you that I will continue to fight for our values, to protect and promote the rights of all. It is my hope that I can continue to be an advocate and the voice of the people of Boulder, and that I can make a difference. And I want to thank you. I want to also thank Lisa and all the women of Boulder County, them's women. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Junie. Okay, Tina, you're up, and I'm going to add about 30 seconds. Sorry, I muted myself in the middle of that. Tina, you're now up, and I will add 30 seconds for you because she went a little bit over.
Hey. All right. Can you hear me? Wonderful. All right. Well, first, a big thank you to Dem Women for hosting all of us candidates. This is always such a great place to figure out what's going on, and I am grateful that voters will get a better sense about their choices in the upcoming primary election. So thanks to everybody who put this together. I am excited by the opportunity to represent my House District 10 neighbors, my community, because I have been part of us for almost 40 years. I came here as a CU undergrad in 1985, and I have been here working and advocating for us ever since. The things I'm passionate about, what I value, I value because of the deep and meaningful work I've done in some of the areas that Boulder cares most about: climate and the environment, education, reproductive health and justice, and workers' rights and long-term well-being. I am committed to defending our climate and environment because I'm a scientist. I have a doctorate from CU's biology department, and I am a longtime science educator. I'm interested in applying good scientific methodology to legislative questions, and I look forward to bringing a scientist's lens and perspective to these critical conversations. I am practiced at simplifying complex science content into digestible ideas for middle school kids, and I think that's a necessary skill when advancing good policy. I champion great public schools for all and a great education for each student in each school because I've been a middle school science teacher for over 30 years. I have loved thousands of students, and I've worked with so many of our HD10 families across the socioeconomic spectrum here. As president of our teachers union and an education leader, I deeply understand and will continue to advocate for the safe, inclusive, and excellent learning environments our Colorado kids, families, and educators need and deserve. I am dedicated to the unwavering defense of reproductive health and justice because I've been a longtime board member and political action chair for Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, and because I'm the mother of a 14-year-old daughter. I was part of our board when our Colorado Springs clinic was attacked. I was in conversations leading up to the Rotten Dobbs decision, and I am well-versed in the insidious ways that access to comprehensive reproductive health care and bodily autonomy for everybody can be denied to our most vulnerable people. Protecting these rights will always be my priority. I'm also proud of the work I've led to make real change in the lives of workers and families here in House District 10 and around the state. As president of our teachers union, I've nurtured relationships and built consensus and cooperation toward wonderful teaching and learning environments here. I think real affordability and real improvements to Colorado's standard of living is tied to collective bargaining and workers' rights. As a trustee on the board of Colorado's public pension system, PARA, it's always been my honor to safeguard the long-term financial stability and the well-being of hundreds of thousands of Colorado public servants while they're working and into retirement. So as I've knocked doors, it has been so heartening to meet people who say, "Oh, you were my daughter's science teacher, and now she's a microbiologist." Or, "I love Planned Parenthood. Thank you for your work." Or, "I'm a para-retiree and my pension is my lifeline." And this is something important that makes me different from our current representative. My lived experience as a scientist, an educator, a reproductive rights and labor and retirement advocate, as a renter, a grad student, a homeowner, and a mom, it's all been here in House District 10. What makes me different is that I'm tested and successful at listening and respecting and bringing together large groups of people toward common goals. That's a need we have here. The need to care about and respect the whole range of progressive voices in House District 10 instead of only a part of those. It will be my great honor to continue serving my House District 10 neighbors in this new role as our House representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And I'm just going to remind everybody that if you check in the chat, candidates are putting in their websites for contact. So if you want to learn more about each one, you can look there for easy access to websites. So wonderful. Okay, so that was Junie Joseph and Tina Mew for House District 10. So now we're moving on to Senate District 18, where we have Judy Amabile and Jovita Schiffer. And Judy Amabile will go first. So Judy, when you are ready, let me stop that one and start this one. Here you go.
Thanks. So somebody texted me and said I was scared for you while you were driving. I just want you all to know that my son was driving the car and I got out of judiciary. I ran out the door and thought, we can make it home, because you can't campaign from the Capitol, which I think is really good. And so we're home. We made it. Woohoo! My name is Judy Amabile, and I'm the current rep for House District 49. I've been doing that. This is my 4th session, and I have it's just been an incredible honor to be able to do that work. And I appreciate all of the support that I've gotten from all of you in doing that work. And also all the stuff I've gotten from you that says, hey, I'm not happy about some things that you're doing, or what are you guys up to? You're crazy. Because that helps me inform what I'm doing, and it's invaluable to have your input. So I'm going to talk about 4 things tonight: the things that I've accomplished in the General Assembly, how I approach the work, a little bit about myself, and why I want to be your next state senator for Senate District 18. In terms of the work, I think most of you know that I have really focused on the people who are the most vulnerable in our community. And those are the people who have serious mental illness, who are struggling to find housing, who have found themselves in the criminal justice system, and who other people don't care about. And I have lived experience. My own son ended up, has a serious mental illness, and he ended up homeless and also criminal justice involved. And that has informed a lot of the things that I've worked on over the last 3 years. So we've brought all kinds of reforms to the mental health care system. We've put money in there, but most importantly, we have changed the conversation. When I started, no one was talking about people with serious mental illness and about the impacts that that has on our society, all, in every way. So that's been a huge focus for me. And I was really heartened to hear several other people talk about that, because it is really an important thing. The other thing is the criminal justice reform piece, because we have a very unbalanced, inequitable system where Black and brown people are really being over-policed and over-incarcerated. And so I have worked with my colleagues in the Black Caucus to bring important legislation to address those things. And this year with Rep. Herod, we're working on a bill around excited delirium, so that police don't continue to get trained on that and use that to hurt people. I've also worked a lot on gun violence prevention. This King Soopers shooting happened in my very first session, and I have brought several big pieces of legislation in that space, but also supported my colleagues in the work that they were doing. And reproductive health care, of course, we have made just transformational change in Colorado with protections for reproductive health care. I have also worked on climate action, and I continue to do that. I've worked on insurance, which maybe isn't so sexy, but if you can't find insurance, or if your house burns down, all of a sudden insurance becomes something you really care a lot about. This session, I'm also working on affordable housing. I am running a bill about accessory dwelling units, and it's near and dear to my heart, because I wanted to have that for my son and wasn't able to. And anyway, I think it's a good bill. We're going to bring some extra housing, and we're also going to let people have more control over their own property.
Judy, you're at 4 minutes.
Okay.
So do you want, I'll give you 10 seconds to kind of round up, or,
Okay.
finish up. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. So I've been endorsed by a lot of our community leaders: Joe Neguse, Steve Fenberg, who's the current occupant of the seat, the Speaker of the House, and they are endorsing me because they understand that I am effective at this work, and they would like to see me make it to the Senate. And I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, you're muted.
Jovita, we'll bring you up next.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today. I'm Jovita Schiffer, and I'm running for State Senate District 18. I'm running to create and fight for policies that will promote equity, stability, and wellness in our community and across the state. and especially for our most vulnerable community members, children. I moved to Colorado 25 years ago after falling in love with this area on a business trip. I've raised 2 sons here. I love being outdoors, and I've climbed mountains here, both physically and metaphorically. I've met hundreds of people in SD 18, and while each conversation I've had has been different, there's one major theme I've heard over and over again. People are longing for stability. Stable housing, stable income, stable health. 23% of families living in Boulder County are not making ends meet. And of those who are, many feel like they're just a crisis away from losing that stability. I understand because I've been there. As a woman of color and a single mom, I've had to overcome adversity all my life. I struggled to provide for my family after divorce, and when things finally stabilized and I bought a new home, I nearly lost it to the Marshall Fire. I've been a leader and advocate for over 30 years. I was the director of human resources. I've owned a small business. And for the last 12 years, I've worked with the Boulder Valley School District to create extended learning centers that help close opportunity gaps for historically marginalized students. I've designed equity programs, built community partnerships, and fought for funding from the local level to Washington, D.C. I do whatever it takes to remove barriers and find resources to help children thrive. I love my work in education, but it's not enough. To create stability for children and for all of us living on the edge in a changing world, we need more action at the state level. And for that to happen, we need to elect more leaders who understand and represent the lived experiences of diverse communities. I'm ready to do that work. As your senator, I will prioritize the needs and well-being of children. Children in Colorado have been through a lot over the last 5 years, more than most adults experience in a lifetime. If we want to mitigate acute mental illness in the future, it starts with preventive and proactive measures for our kids. And we need to ensure that all children have an opportunity to learn and thrive in Colorado. I will also champion education funding, workers' rights and economic security, comprehensive mental health and wellness programs, affordable housing, and climate justice. And I'll continue the work of our strong Democratic majority to protect public health, civil rights, and reproductive freedoms, because those are also foundations of the stable lives we all deserve. The Democratic women of Boulder County have historically done so much to support and elevate progressive women leaders. Your vision statement says you want an inclusive, just, and equitable society in Boulder County and Colorado. In order to achieve that, we need to elect different kinds of leaders with diverse backgrounds, lived experiences, and expertise. I'm your opportunity to achieve that. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or want to learn more about me. I'll put my website in the chat. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Jovita. All right, again, that was for Senate District 18, Judy Amavile and Jovita Schiffer. And I do hope I'm saying your name correctly. All right, so moving on to our last candidates, that's Boulder County Commissioner, I believe it's District 2. And we have Polly Christensen and Marta Locheman. So Polly, you're up next. And when you are ready, I will start the timer. We'll get you on the spotlight first, so.
Okay. I don't have
So-
her, what's the screen name you're using, Polly? I can't find you.
I forgot to do that. It just says home. God, I thought I fixed that. I'm sorry. It just
I
says
got
home.
you. I got you.
Okay, it's Polly Christensen. Sorry. Okay, I'm ready if you are. Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. My name is Polly Christensen, and I'm running for County Commissioner District 2. I have the diversity of work, life, and cultural experience to better represent District 2. I have an absolute commitment to democratic governance and responding to the people of our county, not the real estate industry. Boulder County appears to be a paradise from the outside, but we have multiple challenges both now and in the future. I want to tell you my top four priorities. Affordable housing, because without stable, safe, and decent home, we cannot have any stable present or future. Number two, better transportation, because without reliable, affordable transportation, we can't get to our jobs, our churches, or to the grocery store, and businesses cannot function. Number three, sustainable open space and agriculture. Without the beauty and freedom of our open spaces, we're not fully human. Without a healthy agricultural community, we become unhealthy and vulnerable to spiking prices and food deserts. Number four, civil rights and mutual respect. Without our hard-fought civil rights, mutual respect, and equal opportunity to create our own lives, everyone is impoverished. Number one, we need housing we can afford. 60% of Boulder County residents cannot afford our housing. According to my latest sources, 800 Boulder Valley school children are homeless during the year, and 600 St. Vrain Valley School District children are homeless. That's unconscionable. We can't allow it. Our housing crisis was created by bad public policy, federal, state, and local, beginning in the 1970s, and it can be healed by good public policy, such as, number one, use what we have. Support Senator Sonia Jaquez Lewis's right to first refusal for local governments for affordable housing. Repurpose the abandoned and vacant buildings we have to form single-room occupancy apartments. Protect mobile home residents from rising rents and corporate takeovers by zoning, co-ops, and land buybacks. Support cause for eviction bill that is currently in the legislature to protect renters while ensuring landlords are not trapped with truly bad tenants. Number two, government has got to return to building, maintaining, and managing quality public housing, both for rent and for sale. Support the good developers who will actually partner with us to do this, and there are some. Number three, we need better transportation. Front Range passenger rail is the future. We must plan not just for the next 5 years, but for the next 50 years. Our state legislature is currently in the process of the first restructuring of RTD since the 1980s. Yay! RTD needs to either build the rail they were legally required to build, or transfer the millions of dollars that East and North Boulder County have paid for years to the Front Range passenger rail, so we can actually get decent transportation. Bus service. North Boulder County's bus service is actually diminished as we have grown. It's unbelievable. This is an issue of equity and economic fairness for residents and businesses. I will continue to fight hard to represent all of Boulder County to improving public transportation. Third, the airports near Superior and in Boulder and Longmont are an important part of future transportation for residents and businesses. They're an important part of training for our pilot shortage. All three airports are under great pressure to change or disappear. Collaboration between dissatisfied residents, airport management, and pilots will get us further than demonizing each other, which never gets us anywhere. Third, we need sustainable open space and agriculture. Protecting and expanding open space is Boulder County's true treasure. This has got to be balanced with the concerns and needs of the agricultural community, who needs much of our open space to feed us. Fourth, lastly, we need and for civil rights and respect. I'm the daughter of an immigrant. I married an immigrant. I've lived on both coasts, and I was surrounded by immigrants and a variety of cultures and gender identities. If you're not Native American, you come from immigrants. Diversity is the strength and beauty of America. We should treasure it and not fear it. My name is Polly. I'm asking for your vote for County Commissioner District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly.
You ready, Lisa?
Okay, Marta, yes, and I'll add some extra time to you to make it balanced.
Okay, thank you. Let me start my timer here. Buenas noches y gracias por su participación hoy. Mi nombre es Martita Loachamin. My name is Martha Lochamin. I am your current County Commissioner, District 2. Getting elected to the Boulder County Commission was truly the proudest moment of my professional life. The election in 2020 presented me with an opportunity to bring my unique experience and perspective to identifying and addressing the many challenges facing our community for the betterment of all of Boulder County. I'm proud to serve as the County Commission's policy lead in economic, employment, income, housing, racial equity, human rights, economic stability, natural disaster resiliency and recovery, and public lands and natural resources. All of these policy areas are critical to the county's development, and they all present challenges. Any move to solve our housing shortage, for example, has an impact on our transportation opportunities, public land management, and natural disaster and climate preparedness. I lead the consortium of cities and build support for rural and mountain areas to collaborate while we all balance our priorities. Our work is complex, and we're making great progress. Since 2021, Boulder County as a region has delivered consistent increases in net jobs and an unemployment rate that's lower than both the Denver Aurora Lakewood region and the nation at large. Our region is attracting investment. Since I took office, Boulder County has been a major recipient of federal funds for the final 2013 flood recovery projects, Marshall Fire personal property debris removal, Northwest Front Range passenger rail and study, and electric charging station infrastructure funds. We've increased economic vitality grants and provided American Rescue Plan Act funding for small business property tax relief. I was also proud to be appointed by Governor Polis to the Colorado Workforce Development Council and to serve as our representative still in my 4th year on the Workforce Boulder County Board of Directors. Boulder County continues to feel the pressure of lack of housing. And as a Boulder County Housing Authority board member, we are overseeing phase 2 of Willoughby Corner in Lafayette, the largest net zero affordable multi-style housing complex in the state's history. The development will add 400 units to our affordable housing supply. And beyond that, we've secured ARPA funds for homeownership opportunities via Habitat for Humanity in Longmont at the north end of Boulder County. And we've enabled accessory dwelling units for Marshall Fire survivors. I was proud to be the designated commissioner lead on the Affordable and Attainable Housing Ballot Measure of 2023, which passed with over 71% of the vote. And I'll continue to lead that 17 million annual distribution process, which will allow us to continue to invest in affordable and attainable housing and housing support services starting soon in January 2025. Economic stability and affordable housing are 2 important development pillars, but the third and most important is how we support residents who are in vulnerable circumstances. Oh, so sorry. Hang on a second. This is the problem with having a screen in front of me. I was proud to lead an effort that secured $63.3 million under the American Rescue Plan Act to provide new initiatives this year in mobile mental health response, early childhood nonprofit support, family support services, and mobile home park rehabilitation. Those efforts now help us address ongoing challenges with homelessness and mental health, and will complement our efforts to increase equitable outcomes and accessibility throughout the county. My unique background as an educator, resiliency specialist, and consultant became critical as I took needed roles as the commissioner lead on gun violence prevention, the 2022 Emergency Services Ballot Measure, and countywide community engagement that is happening now. As the first woman of color in the county commissioner's office, I have a personal responsibility and opportunity that is timely. I chose to guide our organization to open an Office of Racial Equity in 2022, begin new initiatives around agricultural access and infrastructure to deliver equitable environmental policies in partnership with our Office of Sustainability, Climate Action, and Resilience, which is now my work leading Justice 40. I am now leading the first initiative to move our agency, Boulder County, as an organization from land acknowledgement to meaningful action with Native American, American Indian, and Indigenous community members countywide. As a Democrat in the midst of a challenging 2024 election season for all of us, I need your continued support. Ask for your vote on June 25th in what for me is now a second Democratic primary race. Together, we're better. Together, we're stronger, not just nationally, but here locally in Boulder County. My website's martaforboco.org. Join me as I get back to work.
Thank you, Marta. Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, that is the end of our candidate presentation. And what I want to say is to remind everyone that as the Democratic Women of Boulder County, our mission is to educate, engage, and elect. And tonight is one of our main pillars on the education side that will lead to electing our representatives. And so because of that, normally our recordings are for members only. However, we will hold this open for everyone in the community to access. So please feel free to share our website with your friends to give them the opportunity to see this informative Zoom event for their knowledge to help make their decisions in their ballot. Again, I want to encourage everybody to attend your caucus. And I will say thanks to Representative Nagus, the Boulder County Democrats who presented us with information on how the caucus works, how you move through caucus to get up to assembly and then to convention, etc. Again, I encourage you to attend your caucus and make your voice heard and raise your hand to be a precinct organizer. This doesn't happen by itself. And so, it's not that much work actually. So I'm doing that too. I'm actually going to be doing my first super site. So we'll see how that goes. So I encourage you to get involved. Let's see. And then obviously say thank you to all of our primary candidates. First, for standing up to be a community service person, and then for attending with us tonight and sharing your views and who you are. And we're just so appreciative for that. So thank you. All right, I have to say thank you to two unseen and unsung sheroes, Way and Tina, who run this stuff behind the scenes that are trying to get people in when they get kicked out and making sure somebody's muted or not muted. And just want to say thank you to them because they don't get enough credit. I could not do this without them. So thank you, ladies. I also want to say consider joining the board as a volunteer, or either the board as a board member or a volunteer. We can also always use your help. Next month, we'll have a very informative also meeting on by Third Way. And they are going to talk to us about no labels and what that means, who they are, what the impact can be. And even though they don't have a candidate yet, it still can have a negative impact. So we'll learn more from them next month, which is actually on March 20th, next Wednesday, or that Wednesday. And yeah, I think, again, thank you for attending. Please engage where you feel comfortable. In April, we will be having what I call speed dating for orgs. You'll get to learn about a bunch of different organizations who do volunteer work for grassroots voting, postcards, the Boco Dems, etc. So you'll learn more about that later. But consider what you can do, any little bit counts. And again, take care of yourself, and we will see you in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you.